Zookeepers of Reddit. What are zoo secrets that people wouldn't believe? There's a series on Disney Plus Hulu called Secrets of the Zoo that is basically nothing but behind the scenes with zookeepers, trainers, and vets. It's fantastic. Not a zoo but a large public aquarium. The animals are fed the same restaurant quality seafood you eat. Sea otters are extremely expensive to keep for this reason. So are sharks, dolphins, beluga whales, and anything tropical and saltwater. And the keepers are working for love, because God knows it sure isn't money. If an animal dies of natural causes, we sometimes feed them out to other animals. Had a zebra pass and we fed out to our lions. A local farmer had a calf that was kicked in the head by its mom and we fed the whole carcass out to our African wild dogs. Both times were during public visiting hours, so I guess it's not necessarily a secret, just not well known. Not a zookeeper, but I have a few zookeepers in my friends group. When I ask questions outside the zoo, their eyes kinda glaze over and they parrot the things I know they tell guests. A lion is a carnivore, so they eat meat in the wild. But every once in a while they slip up or admit something in an unrelated conversation, and I have learned things such as the African wild dogs don't get frozen meat anymore because they roll on it and smear it everywhere instead of eating it. The baboons somehow insisted on listening to the song Mobile by Avril Lavigne on repeat at one point, thus fucking up one of my friend's Spotify recommendations. I don't feel there's anything that people wouldn't believe, but there's definitely a lot people don't think about. Many of the animals may be on some form of birth control. In the case of great apes, it's probably the same one most humans take. Zoos don't deliberately hide animals from you, but that doesn't mean there aren't animals that are not visible to the public. Animals can be off habitat for any number of reasons: social dynamic issues, special treatment, quarantine, solitary species, etc. Keepers spend way less time than you think directly interacting with the animals. Keepers have college degrees. That wasn't always the case, but you won't be considered for a job anymore without one unless you have a ton of experience. I volunteer at an aquarium and the people always ask about whether the sharks that are in with the fish ever eat the fish. Officially we say, we keep them well fed enough that they don't, but on more than one morning on my initial walk around I have found remains of fish that definitely weren't feed fish. On a particularly memorable occasion, I found the head of a large porgy just sitting on the bottom. A diver went in and got it before guests arrived. Was on an inside the operation, behind the walls corporate trip to Big Western USA Zoo. 2 employees took us around unseen side of elephant enclosure. Picture gate made of metal bars about 4 inches wide and big elephant tall. Employees repeatedly said, "Stay 10 feet from bars." Elephant had recently grabbed someone with its trunk. They were bludgeoned to death as elephant repeatedly slammed them into gate. Have you watched the series called The Zoo based in the Bronx? There's also an aquarium version. It's super interesting and goes into great detail about how the animals are cared for behind the scenes. My favorite topic they cover is the enrichment exercises. They put a lot of research and detail into keeping the animals engaged and entertained. The best one was the see-through tongue maze they built for an anteater to explore. We play poker with the orangutans on Thursdays. A lady got attacked by a tiger and then shot by a cop trying to shoot the lion. At an after-hours dinner event at the Boise, Idaho Zoo. https://www.deseret.com/2000/8/13/13/130/malls-woman-at-zoo-benefit. Red pandas aren't a real thing. We just pick raccoons out of the garbage and dye them. Ask my girlfriend who used to work for the Nashville Zoo. She said that the animals have different stage names that the public know them by than the keepers use for them. Many vegetarian animals are also fed a small amount of meat, because in the wild the plants, vegetables, and fruits they eat often has bugs in them that they also eat. It's not really a secret, and if you ask a keeper about an animal's diet, they'll tell you, but many people have this notion of herbivores only eat plants and carnivores only eat meat. The reality is there are very few pure herbivore or carnivore in the wild. One of the first things many predators eat from a large prey animal is the stomach and large intestines to get that partly digested plant matter. I don't know about wouldn't believe, but it's nothing like TV shows about zoos make it appear, at least most of the time. Those shows obviously show the interesting bits. In reality, the job is 90% cleaning. You will spend most of your time picking up shit or cleaning windows. Depending on the zoo, you may never get to do things like hand-rearing orphaned animals. The bosses tend to claim fun things like that for themselves. You're just there for day-to-day maintenance. It is very hard work, physically speaking, and pays poorly. You're outdoors in all seasons and weathers. You rarely get weekends off, or even 2 days in a row. No time off at Christmas or other holidays. You really have to be committed. I used to work at a natural history museum next to a zoo. Often when an animal was euthanized, it would be donated to us. My colleagues once took a giraffe apart with a chainsaw, put the parts in the bed of someone's personal pickup, and drove it over. From there the animal was taken apart, and the meat and organs were separated from the skeleton. Then a colony of Dermstid beetles would remove the remaining flesh from the skeleton. There were 8 colonies, and it took about a year for them to clean a large skeleton like a giraffe's. Then the bones and hide and other salvaged parts were preserved in the museum's collection. During my tenure I saw a lion, a gorilla, a giraffe, and more monkeys than I could count. In the case of most large zoos, including specifically the San Diego Zoo, and Wild Safari Park, which is like a sister zoo, the money spent on maintaining and curating the plant life is many multiples more than the money spent on maintaining and curating animals. The staff to maintain the plant life is many multiples larger than the staff for animals. 2. Worked at a zoo in college. We had a petting zoo, and the untractable mean guinea pigs there? Snake food. Speaking of snakes, they were only fed dead frozen prey, but we put the prey on a long metal hook and wiggle it around to entice the snakes to grab it. All of the animals were in one of 3 categories. In case of animal escape, low, birds of prey, for example, notify staff, try and catch the animal, medium, monkeys, for example, some risk to people, clear the area to catch drunk animal, high, big cats, shoot animal to kill BC risk to people is too high. Chimps masturbate with their feet. A lot. A book I read by a zoo vet said in the good old days, if an exotic animal died, and the death was not infectious, they would have a barbecue in the back lot for employees. For example, roasted impala. Not a zookeeper myself, but my girlfriend used to work at a zoo back in her hometown before moving to the UK, and when we went to visit her family last year, we decided to take a trip to the zoo as well. Almost as soon as you enter, one of the first buildings you can go into has a large cordoned-off area by the door full of super cute rabbits and guinea pigs, with only a small barrier surrounding them so kids can see them clearly. This section is apparently always really popular with families, as the kids love to see the animals hopping around, munching on vegetables and generally being really cute. A few meters away from this pen was a large glass cage built into the wall, inside of which was a very large, mean-looking snake. As I was looking at it, I made a comment about its size, to which my girlfriend responded, "Guess what they feed it?" Asterisk. Spoiler, every couple of days they go to the pen, grab one of those same cute little bunnies the kids were all fussing and cooing over, and toss it into the cage for the snake to munch on. Fucking brutal.